All right, no, question for the coach.
Eddie Mark said that there's a possibility both quarterbacks will play early just because of the experience factor in games. What can't you learn about guys in practice that you have to see on the late spot?
I think the speed of the game is the first thing, but we're going to really be intentional about when we get into our team periods of making it just like a game. We kind of ended that way in the spring, and it worked out really well. We progressed at the quarterback position the last 7 or 8 practices, so Matt and I will just call it from the hip, just like a game, situational football, and we're going to do that after about practice 5. So the rest of that, you've got to have about 20, 22 situations, 3 scrimmages. So it'll be close, but whether 2 play or not, you just got to see how they develop. If it's the best for our football team, that's what we'll do.
Coach Wilson brings you a lot of quickness and speed in that quarterback position, doesn't he?
Yes, he does. And they're a little bit different in some of the things that we do, but in all of our run game, we still have all of our read stuff where our quarterbacks need to run the ball, and it keeps the defense on edge, and they have to account for him. So Gunnar can do that too, and one is faster than the other, and they're built different.
Maybe despite having talked about Wilson in terms of playing in front of 20-some thousand people, both at the spring game. Do you have a talk with him after the game, and what was his mood after the game?
Well, he was nervous, and if you're not nervous and you get into a game like that, and it's first time, and he wanted to do well, and he just said, hey, you got to relax. He did a couple things at the beginning that dropped a snap, and he'll learn from that. You'd rather have that in a spring game than in a game that he plays in. So, he just grows. You're just going to keep growing, just like Gunnar. You look at his first spring game here, he was fantastic, and he keeps growing, and we're lucky to have, full quarterbacks, and they're going to be competing, and it'll be a lot of fun.
Regarding those quarterbacks, there's a perception out there that it's kind of one as a passer, one as a runner. Is that a bit of a misnomer?
It is. I think they both throw the ball well. I think Terry for sure runs better than Gunnar, but I think they both throw the ball well. They got better in the spring. That was the biggest thing for me, is where we were going to go in the spring, and it was a little bit tough at the beginning, which you expect, but as we grew, we got better. We condensed things a little bit, and our receivers helped them, and did what they were supposed to do, and Coach, I heard talk about, getting in that space and making plays, and we were able to do that.
Eddie, but people think of we traditionally think of the quarterback as being the leader of the offense, but you've got inexperienced guys there, and you've got a lot of experience around the quarterback. So how much is leadership going to factor into the battle?
Well, I think always you've got to have that guy that's pulling the trigger to be a leader. They can be different types of leaders. You look at some of the great ones in the NFL, they're very vocal and they get after you. Some that might not be that way. Steven Johnson wasn't a big vocal guy, but he was a leader on our football team. So at that position, yes, you definitely want to have that quality.
Mark said you had 4 hands in the dirt, tight ends. What is your mindset in being able to utilize that more in the offensive scheme this year?
We'll see how the 2 young ones emerge, and that's the one thing at that position, especially because they're such a big part of the run game and the pass game. And what people don't understand, I think people understand what CJ, really has done the last couple of years, where in our run game, we've been successful for a lot of the things that he's done and our tight ends have done. So, as they emerge, I think we've got 2 really good tight ends in CJ and Justin, and then we'll see if we're able to use that 3rd one and 4th one, where we're at, and then how our 10 personnel evolves. But, you'd like to take those tight ends and be able to spread it out and have the big bodies and those guys catching some contested balls for you and be able to do that formationally.
Eddie, do you need a receiver that on 3rd down, everybody in the stadium knows you're going to throw it to him, can still get open and make that play for you?
I think that's the most important thing. We call it the money down, and you got Dorian back now, so you hope brings that physicality and experience, and he's been there. And Taven, I think at the end of the year last year, was one that was emerging and was really our most consistent guy. You got Lynn, who's going to be better at that position this year. you know, you got some young guys that got experience last year that are already better. They were better in the spring, and they need to take another jump now in the next 25, 30 days, and that we're expecting that to happen.
How much more prepared are you expecting Lynn to be since he was here for the summer and the entire fall camp?
Well, yeah, he's a year under his belt. You know, a guy that didn't play a lot of receiver. You know, the technique part of that, going against the big DBs we go against every day, is good because that's what he's going to face. But just, you know, the technical part of the game and really understanding that and the urgency, I think that's what he's gotten better at. So I think you'll see a huge change. And a guy that can make plays for you. You know, he can go up and he can get it. And we know he's explosive when he has it in his hand.
Coach, a guy like Benny Snell brings a will to win, doesn't he? And it leads off to the other kids on the football team, doesn't it?
I don't think there's any question the day he stepped on campus here. You know, it was one of those young men that kind of old school, you know, and gave you everything he's got. He does it now, and you know, he made me play him. And you know, I heard Coach say that, and you know, guys come in and say, Coach, why am I not playing? And it's like, make me play you. You know, let's sit down, let's watch the film. Make me play you every day. Come out with an infectious attitude. Come out and compete with a sense of urgency, and you'll play. So, you know, that's what he does every snap, every play.
He reminds me of Pete Rose, who played for Cincinnati back several years ago.
I
Would
like
not
that.
lose, would not lose.
I like that.
You have to beat him.
Yeah, you're going to sprint through first base. You watch Pete Rose slide into first base.
That's right.
Sprint off the field.
Cleveland catcher still trying to find himself.
I love it. Old school right there.
And
That's
you
right.
do anything differently with Dorian in these practices because he's had injuries in camp the last 2 years? Do you guys plan to hold him back a little bit, or you need him to get going?
Yeah, Dorian's one of those guys too, where it's never giddy up. You know, it's always, well, he wants to go full speed every time, and you love that about him. But yes, we're definitely going to have a rep count on him. You know, make sure he knows what to do. Make sure the body's he looks great and he's full speed. And so, you know, we just got to make sure that you know, he get into a couple scrimmages and you know, he doesn't need 35 reps. You know, that doesn't make sense. So. Getting banged up a little bit, hit, and just so he's ready to go, so we can get into that first game and hopefully have a nice, healthy season.
For the guys behind him that are younger, what do you need to see from them? What do they have to do to be able to get on the playing field?
They've got to master their craft a little bit more, you know, whether that be getting off the line of scrimmage, whether that be making contested catches in those small spaces Coach talked about. And I really do believe that we did a little bit more of that at the latter part of the spring. Our first scrimmage was atrocious. The second scrimmage was like night and day. We need to continue from there, and a lot of that came from the competing part with some urgency. They've got the talent. Now they've got to put it all together. And you know, being in the second year for some of them young guys, really knowing what to do now is going to help them play faster. You know, sometimes you could see it last year, they weren't playing like they needed to be playing because they weren't quite sure. They should be now, you know, especially this first week. They should know this thing inside and out, and that's what we're expecting.
Do you have guys in there that are fast enough to take the top off?
Absolutely, we do. I think Coach Ed's done a great job with those guys. We've gotten bigger, faster, stronger, and I don't think there's any question.
He took what I was going to say without that anxiety. He was as one of those guys that you take the top off.
He is one of those guys. When you said that, that would have been one of them. You know, Isaiah Epps, I think Josh Ali, I think Dorian. I think we've got some guys that can do that. And, you know, Zaire, you know, in the transition part of it, he's one of the fastest guys, if not the fastest guy in that group for sure. So, you know, he's got to be able to make some plays now and really kind of buy in to the technical part of it.
Coach, you guys have been here a while, so the staff's been here as well too, haven't they? I mean, you guys know each other. You've been here 2 or 3 years straight, so that's a conducive outfit too.
I think so. I think anytime, you know, I was at Auburn for 10 years, and everything is good when that happens. Not only the continuity of the coaching staff, but your recruiting, the relationships, and the scheme, and it does. It makes it a lot better, I think, for the kids too and their development. And so I'm excited that I'm going into my 3rd season.
Last year with CJ, got double teamed a lot, and his receptions went down that 4 or 5 game span. How did that affect him? And coming into this year, knowing he's going to be double teamed a couple of times.
Yeah, I think, between double teamed and between us not just getting the ball sometimes, I think there was a combination of things. CJ, you didn't have to worry about that. CJ was about winning. And, I think CJ is one of the top tight ends in the country because of some of the things he was forced to do in our first year. He learned how to be a blocker. And you know what, at that next level, you have to be a blocker. And I think there's some kids that don't buy into that. And CJ was kind of forced in that role when we got into a lot of Wildcat, and we were pounding people to try to figure out who Steven Johnson was. And I think that's helped him. And so we've found some ways over the spring to the summer with studying some different people of ways that we can single him up. And they've got no choice and they can't double him. And some mismatches, and so hopefully those things will help him get some more catches for us.
There's a lot of starters back on the offensive line, but it sort of looks like the depth behind them is maybe. How do you feel about that depth and those guys kind of behind your main guys?
You know what? You never really know about that group until you get into games. I think you've got Mason Wolf. I think is a guy that started to come this last spring. Faulkner. He is Luke has come miles. He had I think it was mono. What he had, is that what he had when he was out? He was out for a while. Lost some weight, came back, and he looked good this spring. Our tackles, those guys are going to be really challenged this year. When we get into this spring, especially with the guys that are rushing us. So we're going to find out real quick about that second team. John will have 2 or 3 guys always in the rotation. We're always going to keep working guards to tackles, tackles to guards, and I think he does a fantastic job at that. So we just got to keep developing those guys, and we'll see how many. A couple years ago we had 9 in a rotation. Then I think we went down to 7 because of some injuries. So we'll just see how that plays out as we go.
When you're trying to find and develop the quarterback, how much more at ease are you with those guys up in front on the O-line that have that experience and have proven themselves?
Well, I think it's huge for a quarterback. I think Coach talked about that and he hit on it. That we're gonna have a new quarterback, but we've got an experienced offensive line. They've been in the trenches. They know what's going on. And then we've got some receivers that are young that are coming up, and they should be better. And some older ones that are coming back. We've got, I think, the running back position. We've gotten better because we've made Benny better by those guys competing, and with Saeed and AJ. And then our tight ends are solid. So you can't ask for a better scenario for if you're going to have a new quarterback that you want to have some experience behind him, and they got to do their job to help them out.
Eddie, is Walker Wood healthy? What are your expectations for him?
He is healthy, and probably since he's been here, this is the healthiest he's been. And he's a gym rat, if you will. He comes in, he's always studying the game. Just to see him keep progressing, number one, physically, okay, and keep getting stronger, and then as he keeps learning the offense develop. And that's with all of them, especially at that quarterback position, because it's tough. So we've got 4 of them that can throw the football, and so it's going to be fun to watch them.
I heard Steven Johnson say that the offensive line last year he played behind one of the nationals, or maybe the nationals in the league, mentally. How much does that translate physically?
Well, when we talk about our standards on offense, number one is protect the football. We've got that's the team, and number 2 is that we wanted to be explosive. But number 3 for us was being physical. We got to have some toughness about us, and that's been that since I got here. That's my mentality. That's all I know. That's what I know in this league. And if you're not tough and you don't grind it out, then you've got no chance. So I like those big, nasty, physical guys playing the game the right way. But you got to have some toughness about you.
Eddie, last year you felt like that maybe you threw a little bit too much too quickly at the team, and then when you all simplified, things picked up a little bit. How do you think this team stacks up in regard to being able to pick things up, and how football smart do you think they will be?
That's a great question. I think, especially up front, I think we're really good. I think that's been really helped us in the run game over the last 3 years. I think when it comes down to the passing game, you can get a little bit too if you will, you start thinking you're a guru and you're gonna out-coach people all the time. I think you're gonna have some things each week that you can add on certain situations, but we gotta get great at our base offense. And that's what we did this spring, and we cut it back. We cut it back last year at the end, and then we cut it back this spring, and there's no question that we got better. So there's gonna be some definite, the game plan's not gonna be that big. We're gonna be really, really good at what we do. Our quarterbacks are gonna know where to go with the ball. They're gonna understand the situation we're in, when a check down is okay, when the alert might be taking off for a deep play. Receivers and running backs and tight ends are gonna understand the situation we're in, and we're gonna just be smarter players. And I think that will lead to a better offense and a more consistent offense.
Do you expect your room to sort of, or your group to rally around Coach Larman as he's going through his illness?
Yeah, I think that's, I don't think there's any question, you know, everybody's, their thoughts and prayers are out to him and just to his family, and that's where we're at right now.
Eddie, Mark said that sometimes he has to get in your ear, telling you he wants you to play faster, and you just kind of refuse to do it. How much truth is there to that, or did that ever really ever happen?
Well, he does get in my ear. Not very often. He's the best, and I mean that. And that I've been around it where sometimes you get somebody in your ear all the time. It's really hard. It's hard to focus. And he doesn't do that. And then he hasn't told me to speed up a ton now. Okay, let me tell you that. It's been more the you know, hey, whoa, slow it down, you know. So, but he gets that feel for it, and that's what I love about him. Is he's a defensive guy. You know, we might be running the ball a little bit, you know, and we're going, and he can hear me, and he knows, and you know, I'm getting ready. Maybe he's trying to set something up and to throw the ball, and he'll come down there and he'll say, "Don't you even think about throwing the ball. They're on their heels. Let's go. Smash them, smash them, smash them." Yes, sir.
He must think he's saying something different then.
And you've been doing this job 30-some years, are you and you're doing it well, obviously. Yeah, you're doing it. But anyway, obviously,
well, thank you. It's good to be here.
I can stop that right here.
No. Do you ever look at different ways to do things?
Always in personnel is probably the greatest that I ever grew as a football coach was here in our first year. We really, you look at what we did at Cincinnati, and you look at the style of offense that we had, and then we came here and we got into this wildcat thing, and we had 2,000-yard rushers. And, Mark really helped me through that, and we really had to find out. I think our staff did a great job and said, hey, this is a way we can win games, and that's what we did, and that's what we did. So, you're going to have a different group again this year, and so we'll kind of find out here, and it'll all come together here in the next few weeks.
All right, folks.